Hey guys, and welcome to Anime Duo, the show where we watch an anime and you watch an anime too, and we all discuss it. I'm Cameron Morris.
And I'm Jack Thomas Cameron.
Yes, Jack Thomas Cameron.
Just to address before we start, I've had a bad day.
You've had a bad day.
Yeah, and you know why.
Well, we did record Metal Gear 1 today, which always trains us, so we apologise if Jack is a little bit low energy. He's going to try his best. He really likes this anime, spoilers, so so you're going to get into it, alright?
Alright.
And I've got a cold, so I sound a bit weird. Let's go. What did we watch this week, this month?
This week we did Naruto. All of it.
We watched the entire of Naruto.
All of Naruto.
It's not done yet. Did we watch The Last as well?
The Last?
It's the anime about Naruto after when he's grown up.
Yeah.
No, this week we watched Samurai Champloo, which is I believe it was made by the same people who made Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, you know it, man.
Yes, and it was an interesting anime. So first of all, let's just go over the plot for the people who didn't watch it. If you want to pause the video and go watch it now, we watched 4 episodes. Jack watched the entire thing because he loved it so much. It's basically the story about 2 samurai who are complete opposites and they're basically rivals. And through a series of events, they end up traveling together with this girl named Fu.
Yep.
And they're on a search for a samurai who smells like sunflowers.
Smells like sunflowers.
And it's kind of cryptic. Now,
wait, you better steady on, right? I'm the rainmaster.
I'm sorry.
Right. Basically, the anime starts off as you said, right? Perfect description. You're the best.
Thanks, man.
What's good about it is it's the same sense as Cowboy Bebop, where you find out a little bit at the start, and then each episode is its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same format.
I completely agree. Whoever makes these animes, they're really good at the mystery elements.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot in anime. A lot of animes, you start off and you've got like the plot and the culture and everything is all thrown at your face. Whereas this, it feels like everything's a mystery. All 3 characters, even though there's only really 3 main characters, every single one of them has a mystery behind their past.
Yeah, like you don't find out anything about the characters until near the end.
Yeah.
Right?
And it really keeps you captivated because you hear like these little bits. The one thing I want to talk about the plot is that the first episode is really good. And I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Now,
do you want to give a brief recap?
Okay, we'll talk about the first episode first. Let's go episode by episode.
Okay, so I was just start. The first episode, you meet all 3 main characters.
Yeah, you meet the first 2, and they're on trial at the beginning. And this is where we're going to talk about the editing, because the editing of the show is phenomenal.
The wiki chiki.
Yeah. So you start off.
That was terrible. I'm sorry.
Wiki chiki bit. So the first, you meet the first 2 characters who are the 2 samurai.
Jin and Mugen.
And they are both on trial for something and they're going to get murdered. And they're like really like, what are your last words? And they're like, fuck you, basically. They're like, we don't care about last words.
It's like a quippy sort of
Yeah. And you get a sense of Mugen's character. Jin is quite silent, but you see that they're both very like, they're not alike, but they are alike. Coin. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And that's...
Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. So you get this, which I thought was really good. It was just like Cowboy Bebop, to reference last month. The intro snags you in, and it's like these are the characters, this is the tone, and then it does this cool editing thing where it the record is being spun of the anime, and it spins back towards the beginning of the day.
It's stylized as well to the tone of the anime, which we'll go into later. The music.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a bit as well at the start where it goes forward, isn't it? It's quite funny. It's a really funny anime in general, but there's a bit where it goes forward to present day. And it's like, oh, that's too far.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about that. Sorry, I completely forgot that. There is a bit. Yeah, talking on the editing where like it shows you the setting for the anime. And then it zooms and sees what the setting is like in 1995 or something. Yeah. And there's people walking around with backpacks and iPods and stuff. And it's like, oops, too far. And then it goes back. So we get this awesome intro. And then we kind of go back to before the 3 have met each other.
Yeah.
And basically, they're all being affected by the mayor of the town. Fu, the girl, is in kind of like a bad job where she's abused a lot. Yeah. Because just the customers, and the customers, and especially the people who work for the mayor of the town.
It's very heavy, like corruption with gangs.
Yeah.
Revolving around positions of power.
Yeah, and that's a theme that goes through a lot of the anime, not just the first episode.
Yeah, and noblemen not being
noble,
decent.
Yeah,
and things like that, and the outlaws being good and stuff, and it's all reversed, like,
Yeah.
corruption, similar to
Cowboy Bebop again. Like it feels similar, and Tony almost feels like an extension of the same story.
Saying that, they are similar, but vastly different.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, it's like they have similar themes because it's like, but it's presented in the different ways. It's like Cowboy Bebop is like, these are the themes, and then this is what could happen. And then I feel like Samurai Champloo is the same beginning themes where it's like corruption, but it's like, what if instead of lay back and try to live with it, like in Cowboy Bebop, they're like, oh, we'll just become bounty hunters. In Samurai Champloo, the main characters fight against it. They're always fighting authority. They're always like Jin, even though he's doing it. He gets money when he fights off those guys at the beginning. He is also saving that guy's life. Like, they're about to murder this lowly guy who didn't have enough money.
What I like about Jin is you never know. Well, no, Jin you said, didn't you?
Jin, yeah.
My point's invalid.
Oh, okay. Well, so in the first episode, they kind of meet each other where the two samurais don't want to kind of hang out together, but they admire each other because they both want to be the best samurai.
Definitely. How much did you watch overall?
I watched 4 episodes.
Just 4. Right.
Yeah, just the 4. I think I watched about 5, but we're going to be talking about the main 4. I feel like we can't talk about the first episode without getting into characters. So let's talk about characters for a sec.
Okay.
What did you think of Mugen, the first samurai that we're introduced to?
Well, Mugen, at the start, I was really a big fan of his voice.
Yeah.
And the Japanese voice actor is superb. He sounds pretty similar between the English dub as well.
I think they're the same character in both because in the English
definitely the same character, and they've got the same sort of voice.
Yeah, and in the English dub he's played by the same person who voiced Spike.
Yeah.
In Samurai.
It's a bit harsher in the Japanese.
Yeah.
But I really admired his voice actor. He did a great job. And Mugen is a hard character. There's a lot that you find out about him, especially in later episodes.
Yeah.
About the anime takes a turn into like spiritual types of areas, and that aspect heavily revolves around Mugen, which is really unique and different, and it's something that you doesn't need loads of explaining through the anime. But you kind of like get on board with it and you're like, oh, this is really cool, it's different, I haven't seen something like this before. But
I'd agree with you. A lot of this anime, like, the description is unique. I mean, if you think about it, first of all, the samurai, which sounds pretty like stereotypical, but if you think about it, a lot of anime is not about samurai. The go-to is ninjas,
Yeah.
And you've got others like pirates and One Piece, but
Gintama does samurai, but that's a comedy anime.
Oh, okay.
This one's very serious.
This was it's serious.
Like,
it's funny bits, but
damn, there's a lot of stuff I'm remembering now from the first couple of episodes. Like, one thing I loved, I'll just get this point across, but one thing I really loved about the anime is it always surprised me, and I never knew which direction it was going to go.
I'd agree with that.
I always felt the character could die.
Yeah,
at any point.
Definitely, because it only has 3 characters, and every other character introduced, you never know where they're going to stay or not.
It's great because they introduce a couple of characters in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And because it's so heavily revolved around the Edo period and how samurais were and like honor and respect.
Yeah.
Mugen just challenges people to fight, and he kills them. Like, you meet a character.
Bad guys, good guys,
Yeah,
fucking people. As long as they're a challenge for him, he'll be like, I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah.
There's even a chance. I mean, I haven't seen the entire anime, and not a lot of people who are watching this have. There's even a chance that Jin or Mugen will kill each other.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
Because that's the whole point of their relationship is they admire each other as samurais, but they both want to be the better man.
And that's the same thing. If you admire someone as a samurai, you want to fight them and see who's better.
Definitely.
There's that bit where there's a guy you have sympathy with, and it happens a lot. Like, there's a character you have sympathy with, and maybe they leave at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh yeah, cool. Or Mugen will be like, oh, you're really good. Do you want to fight? And the guy's like, guy's like, yeah, sure. And then Mugen just kills him, and he's dead, and that's it.
It's horrible.
And he just walks off, and the episode finishes, and it's like,
but it's like,
okay, that makes sense.
The first couple of times it's jarring, and then you kind of realize like this is just the world they live in.
That's how it was.
Like, the people who die aren't even as surprised as you would be because it's like, well, it was gonna be this sometime or another.
Yeah. There's some cool characters in the show, though.
There are definitely some cool characters. So the first episode does a really good job of introducing the characters' personalities, the three of them anyway. So you have Mugen, who is introduced as he's breaking people's fingers for fun. And it is messed up, but it's like the person he's doing it to is a really bad guy.
Sure.
So it's like, you kind of sense that Mugen is this guy who, like, if you are a bad person, he gives no shits about you.
Yeah.
And he's like, go get your guys, and I'll count with your master's fingers. And you're like, what do you mean? Is he gonna just do this with the fingers? And he's like, 1, and he breaks the guy's finger. 2, and then he's like, I'm just gonna skip to 10. And he just breaks all the guy's fingers. Oh, it's messed up.
That's another thing about Mugen, though, is that he does that to bad guys, but he also does it to good guys.
Yeah.
And his moral lining is like, as long as he's okay at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, I was sort of thinking, is Mugen a good guy? But
It's still questionable.
It's still questionable, yeah. But you definitely, either way, you find out later on.
Yeah, you do
What
get a
his
sense.
intentions are, what his morals are, you know.
You do
He's
get
a great character.
You do get a sense that he has like a line that he doesn't cross, because as much as he acts like he just wants to murder all the good samurai so he can become the best, he stays with Fu. And he stays with Jin. There are points where they split up, but they ultimately end up back together.
Yeah.
And it's like, you feel like Mugen is like, as much as I want to do this, I did make a promise, and she did save my life.
Yeah.
You know? So you get a lot in the first episode.
Well, it's all about honor, isn't it? And
Yeah.
the majority of samurai...
Yeah, because to complete his mission...
border, you know,
yeah.
of honor.
To complete his mission, and for Jin to complete his mission, they needed Fu to save them. And she did.
Yeah.
You know? One thing I do want to talk about, though, in terms of characters... I really feel like Fu is quite weak in comparison. Like, this is where we're going to disagree. This is where the fucking episode takes a turn. And... okay, so I felt like Fu is... And let me explain why. I feel like
you better explain why.
Jin and Mugen and Fu, they all have mystery behind them. And it's all presented in a really interesting fashion, right?
Right, I'm with you so
And
far.
I feel like Mugen and Jin, they have these defined personalities that are unique to a lot of animes I have seen. Like, I haven't seen stuff like that in a lot of animes.
Right.
I feel like Fu really just feels like she's tacked on sometimes. You have the point with the samurai, right? The samurai smells like sunflowers, right? And
going.
that's clearly to do with her. Don't be digging a hole. That's clearly to do with her, and she has that going on. But when you come down to it, it feels like Fu is just like... she's there to keep the Jin and Mugen together, because they're the driving points of the anime. They're the interesting things that I watch for. And Fu gets into shenanigans. She gets in. The ogre protects her, and then he dies. To help her. So I feel that she was just a bit of a damsel in distress a lot of the times. And she, even though when she's helping Fu, like when she's like saving them, they were still breaking out. You know? Like, they still did that thing where he did the spinny kick and he's killing all the samurai and stuff. And she just throws the grenades. Like, it really feels like they would have gotten out without her, you know?
Right.
You can respond. I'm not saying this is
I'm
the
gonna
boost of the show.
respond.
So what do you
Right.
think of Fu?
Well, right. Look, I haven't watched the first couple of episodes in a while.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right, maybe it is a bit like that in the first few, right? But her character is in the first episode. It breaks a trope, certainly.
Okay.
Like, you know when she's running. And she's got the melons or the bombs in her.
She's got her bombs. I did like that.
thing.
I really did like it.
Because
Was...
that's like showing like she's one of them stereotypical anime big boob characters.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
They're in every anime usually, but she's like running and you're like, oh wait, I didn't notice them before, like because they're
You're
proper
like, oh no,
animated.
they're gonna over sexualize this woman.
And then she pulls them out of their bombs, and you're like, oh, that's really cool because she's not going to be over sexualized. She's just going to be a regular character, not modeled to the male gaze or whatever, you know.
I would agree with you there. I do feel like they were trying to make a statement with that scene where they were like, oh, look at this girl. She's got like the bouncing breasts and this like every girl in every anime. And then you realize that she takes them out. It's kind of like the anime makers making a statement. They're like, we're not going to do this with this character. You know, we're not going to over sexualize her.
Yeah, definitely.
And then my problem with that is then they still sexualize her sometimes, but it's in a bad way.
What examples?
All right, so this is clearly them not being like, oh, she's so sexy, but it is like sexualizing her in the way that she's constantly, and I mean, this isn't the problem with her character, it's a problem with the other characters in the anime. She's constantly harassed in a sexual way.
Well, yeah, but that's just the way things work.
Yeah, but it always felt like it wasn't being dealt with seriously. It always felt like a joke to me. Like there's the scene where she's like, I'll do anything if you just let me speak to the prisoners.
Right.
And the guy's like, anything? How about have sex with me? And then you expect...
That was a good impression.
Yeah, I know, he's pretty creepy. You expect her to be like, slap him or stuff like that. But she's like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that. No. And then the squirrel flies in his face. And I was like...
Well, don't you think that would have been a ruse, though? Just to let him drop his guard and then...
Yeah, but I feel like...
Tactics, man, tactics.
I feel like it should have been dealt... Again, this is just my opinion,
Okay.
but I feel like it should have been dealt with in a more serious fashion, especially when she becomes a sex slave. When she becomes a sex slave in the two-parter, I felt like a lot of it, she was like, oh no, I'm a sex slave. And there were some genuine moments where she was afraid. And there was another girl in the dungeon or the castle with her who's like, I'm really afraid. I don't want to cheat on my husband even though I'm trapped here.
Yeah.
But I feel like she, a lot of the times, was very much like, oh no, I'm a sex slave. What am I going to do?
I don't agree. I think...
Okay.
I think that she's like that because she has trust in
Mugen and Jin.
Mugen and Jin to get her out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of the time she's like, yeah, they're going to come. It's fine. You know, we made a promise.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, man. I really like... I think
that's cool.
I think she's a good character. Like, you'll see more toward...
Yeah.
When you get toward the
well,
end.
definitely, if people decide to keep watching, this anime looks like it's going somewhere big. Like, there's a lot of building and stuff. Now, let's talk... We've talked a lot about Fu. Let's talk about Jin, because we really haven't talked about him that much. Jin is probably my favourite character out of the
Jin's
three.
your favourite character, see?
Yeah,
Jin's cool.
I think Jin encapsulates what I mean about this anime where I talk about it's unique.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he's very quiet... in like most stereotypical quiet characters, but he still feels like he's got a lot of anger and he's got a lot of rage inside him, whereas a lot of times the quiet characters in animes, they're very all together. They're like, they know what they're doing. Usually they're villains, like Kabuto and stuff like that in Naruto, where it's like they're villains, they know what they're doing. But Jin, even though he's quiet and he's calculated, he still gives off this vibe where he's like, I don't know if I can beat Mugen, you know? Exterior, he's like, yeah, I'll beat you, you're sloppy and stuff.
Give me some examples.
Okay, so there's a bit in the prison where those two, in episode 1, they're in the prison and they're both laying down. And he's like, oh, you're sloppy, you can't fight, you don't know anything, Mugen.
Yeah.
And then Mugen's like, oh, whatever. And he's like, I will defeat you easily. And then he's like, but you are one of the best samurais I've ever seen. And he kind of says it with his way where it's like, how come I've trained so hard and I work so hard and Mugen is really good without even having a fighting style, you know?
I don't agree with that either.
You don't agree?
We are having some controversial points here.
I'm saying Jin is good, man. I don't know. Do you not like Jin?
I really like... Is it Jin or Jean, by the way?
I don't know. I say Jin. It's
Right, we'll keep saying Jin because we said it all the way through. But it might be Jean, so we're really sorry. I am. Cameron is too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I don't think it's... I don't think he's jealous or anything like that. I don't think he's got... No. I think that if Jin lost to Mugen, he would see it as a good thing. Like, if someone has bested him, and he'd sort of be like, oh.
I don't know, though, because I feel like Mugen is more like this, though, where he's like, I can't lose. But Jin still has that thing where he's like, he wants to be the best, you know?
Dude, I'm really sorry. I keep forgetting you haven't watched it all.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, like, I should have different opinions on this certain thing. But yeah, well, again, early on, sorry.
I think this is like a first impression, obviously. This is the first 4 episodes. And I do think it is subject to change. But what I'm thinking is, like, Jin feels very, like, all together. He feels very complete, whereas Mugen and Fu are kind of all over the place. And then you have scenes where where he's just, like, showing a little bit of another character that you feel you're going to get later. And you feel like you're going to... And I'm not sure what it is yet, so I'm just... Right now, I'm just taking my interpretation. And obviously that could change. But I do think it is interesting that Jin is one of these characters in lots of animes that is quiet, but he has another side to him that you just don't quite know, you know?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. Like, he's very composed and presents himself as reasonable and upright, you know? He's very much someone you would mess with because of his, you know, how he presents himself.
Yeah, okay.
But, Yeah, go on.
All right, I want to talk about an episode. I'm not sure whether it was episode 4 or 5.
Right.
So if it was 5, I apologize to people who've only seen 4 episodes. But I just want to talk about this because it was really stood out to me.
Okay.
And this is probably the last plot thing we'll talk about before we get into the visuals and the music.
Sure thing.
There is an episode that features a homosexual topic. Where...
Could you...
All right, so there's a man who is pretending to be Japanese, but he's German.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's presented in a fun way where it's like, oh, he's clearly not Japanese, but he's pretending to be Japanese.
Yeah, and he's mispronouncing everything.
Yeah, and he's mispronouncing everything,
yeah.
and he's kind of like, he's got like this funny accent where it's a mix between, obviously it's English and German in the English dub,
Yeah.
but in Japanese it's probably Japanese and German accent.
Yes. It's really great the way the anime does things like that, because there's Americans later on and there's English people later on, and they all obviously in the Japanese dub they speak in English, and everybody else is in Japanese.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
German guy speaks in German.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
all subtitled.
Oh, that's really
so
interesting.
you know where everybody's from. You know.
Yeah.
It's good. This works nicely.
So this episode, it starts off very, very fun and very like jokey, but it felt too jokey to me. Like they have the eating contest at the beginning, and I was like, really, like.
What's wrong with that?
I thought it was fun, but it was like we're only now really finding little bits out about these people.
Right.
Like Fu has that cutscene where she's like, you see like a part where it's like the samurai. There's a mother in bed and she talks about the samurai a little bit. So you get like little bits like this, and then you get the food scene where it's like, I don't know, it felt good. It was funny, but I felt like it belonged in a different anime.
Oh,
but
man.
then I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
All my points.
I'm
right?
sorry,
The
bro.
Opposite.
Look, it's cool. It's cool. Right. So then you get this,
I'm not mad. I'm joking.
and then towards the end of the episode, or towards the second half of the episode, we get more into the German character.
Yeah.
And then you get into his backstory, and you realize that like the episode is funny, but it's got like this undercurrent of like prejudice, where it's like this guy lived in Germany and he had a fine life, but then he realized slowly that he was a homosexual.
Yeah.
And then he realized that like there was no information about it and no one tolerated it. So he just becomes super scared.
Yeah.
And like even though he's a very funny, lovable character, you still get the sense that he was just fearing it for his life, because he didn't want to be this way. But like whenever he looked at men in a certain way, it was like, I'm a homosexual. Yeah. So he just launched out. He's like, I have to go to Japan. It's the only place.
He saw about the men who
dress
as women, didn't he?
Yeah, and he saw that Japan has a lot more of an open culture towards homosexuality. So he moves to Japan, but because he's still got that thing from Germany,
He's still a bit fearful.
Germany?
Holland.
Sorry. Yeah, because he's still got that thing from Holland where like he was fearful. He still feels like he has to hide it, even though Japan is pretty, in this universe anyway, they're pretty tolerant of that. It seems anyway in the anime. So then when you get the people from Holland coming over to try and deport him, it goes from this funny episode about this guy who doesn't quite know how to pronounce things and he's clearly not Japanese, to like, even though he's still acting goofy, you really start caring for him, and you're it's like he's probably one of the most sympathetic characters in the entire anime.
I really liked him. He's a good character.
And again, like you said about Anyone Could Die, I was like, please, please don't let this guy die, because they've set up so many characters in a sympathetic way and then just kill them that by this point in the anime you're like, oh, they're gonna kill him. They're literally gonna kill him, because the guard are like coming for him, and you're like, oh my god, no. And when he survives, you're like, yes. Like, it's something that like in any other anime you're like, oh well, he's gonna survive, so it doesn't really matter. But it's so
the line is
good.
so tender, you know. It's easily broken and someone could die, you know. But yeah, I had a point to make at the start of that.
I'm very sorry.
When I was
saying that it was silly.
What did I say?
Well, I was saying that it was silly.
Oh yeah,
and you said that you disagree.
Yeah, the anime does a lot.
Yeah.
Right. There's lighthearted moments that go on to serious moments, and there's goofy moments that go on to serious moments. But you got to look at it as a whole rather than like it is the anime, and that is the style, and it breaks so many conventions.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
Yeah, because it's really so distinct, and it's got like its own thing going on. It's got a really unique soundtrack, all by New Jabs. It's got, well, not all by New Jabs, but a lot of it's by New Jabs. A lot of the instrumental pieces that play, and the intro's New Jabs too. But it's so like it's got its own thing going on, and
Yeah.
that's why it's so unpredictable, because you don't know what it's going to do next, and that's one of the things I love the most about it.
I would agree with that. I want to let's talk about the music then and the visuals.
One sec before we get on to
okay.
that. I just one more point. Sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, there's about the funny side of it. There's
Yeah.
one scene in particular that I really like where you haven't seen it yet. It's not a spoiler.
Okay.
But it's basically Mugen finds this guy in the woods.
Okay.
And he's like this fisherman.
Yeah.
And he's like telling Mugen all this like philosophical advice. And he's talking about fish and catching them.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, when you're by the water, you've got to think like the water. You've got to follow the fish's shadow.
Yeah.
And catch it as it comes in. You've got to make it flow toward you and be
Yeah,
natural
yeah.
with it and stuff. And you're like, oh, wow. And this really cool soundtrack starts playing. And it's like really like building you up. And he's there in the water, like ready to catch this fish. And the music keeps building up, and it's really cool. And you're like, oh my god, he's going to catch this fish. And, it's gonna be awesome. And he like goes in, and he misses. And he goes in, and he's really like determined. And he pulls it up, and there's nothing there. And the music goes, so funny.
Yeah, there are a lot of moments like that.
That's
I
like the
do
moment I
appreciate
remember,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
It's great. It is good.
I think the overall my impression of the anime is I feel like the only disadvantage, really, the only big disadvantage to this anime that I had, a little problems like with Fu and stuff, is that there's not. It feels like it should be watched in one, you know, which isn't necessarily a problem because I feel like if I watched it all in one, I would enjoy it, or like over like a couple of days. But because it was serialized into so many episodes, and because it's such a long story that you have to follow, it suffers from if you're only watching 5 episodes and you don't get the complete like experience.
Like right, okay.
You're still left with like
Wonder.
you still have a wonder and also misconceptions about the characters. You know, and I think that's good when you're watching it all because you're like, you think of Fu in a certain way, and then when it gets revealed, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I think I said that last time about watching it all rather
Yeah.
than a couple of episodes because it's a very complete thing.
Yeah.
Like you should watch it all now, and
we'll
discuss
revisit
again,
it.
right?
We'll revisit it when I watch it all.
Yeah, I do agree about misconceptions because it's very open-ended up until the end, and then by the end, then you have your opinions. Like you could, like when I was watching it all the way through, I watched it over like a period of about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, and I was always really excited to start watching it again because I was wondering what was going to happen, like
Yeah,
what kind of adventures they'd have. But watching it, it's like I didn't know who my favorite character was all the way through.
All the way through, is it?
I was torn between Jin and Mugen.
Yeah.
I didn't know, you know. And by the end of it, I had my defined opinions on each character, and I realized Mugen was ultimately my favorite.
Yeah.
But they're so similar. Like by the end of it, you might have a completely different opinion. You might like Fu the most. You never know. It might change completely.
Yeah.
But it's good like that. It works well.
Yeah, I will agree with that. But okay, so moving on to the visuals and the music and just kind of the aesthetic feel of it, I thought it visually, I think it might supersede a lot of animes I've seen.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not Studio Ghibli because they put a lot of time into it.
Ghibli is good for a different reason. Though,
Yeah, I will agree with you. I feel like
we won't get on Ghibli too much though.
No, because that's gonna be another video.
Good area to go to.
But I do think that this anime does something that not a lot of others do, where they pay attention to detail that isn't needed.
Oh man, it's so.
It's like you see, like if you pause the shot, you look in the background, and you're like, they didn't need to draw that.
But they did.
But they did.
And it's great.
You know, it's really good. It's like, it's the difference between, it's the difference between like, I don't want to insult an anime that I like. I do like Naruto.
I was just gonna say, how about Naruto?
I do like Naruto. I do enjoy Naruto. I still watch it to this day, unlike you. But the early episodes, because it was so early, there is a lot of that where it's like, let's just draw what we need. And let's not draw anything else.
There's a fight scene taken from Samurai Champloo.
Is there?
Oh, it's Cowboy Bebop. There's a fight between Orochimaru and Sasuke. And it's the exact same animation.
Really?
From either Cowboy Bebop or Samurai Champloo. It's just taken from it.
That's really weird.
It's really lame. Like, they're doing the exact same moves, and it's really like, why they copy-pasted it?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I do think that this anime really goes above and beyond visually.
Oh, my God.
There's little things like Jin with his glasses, and they keep...
Yeah,
like, they fall down.
Yeah,
like, every so often, you'll see them, they'll be down, and you just push them up, you know?
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
most animes, they'll have, like, one scene where they fall down, he's like, oh, gotta push them up.
And they'll make a point to it, won't they?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, be a dresser. Like, oh, yeah, look at his glasses.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't fit him properly. Goofy.
Lol.
But, no, it's... They don't dress it, so you just notice these things as you watch it.
Yeah, and it's little tiny things, like, the I want to talk like Fu with the bombs.
yeah.
Like they want to make a statement with the bombs, so they make sure to have her. She looks one way, and then when the bomb's in her chest, she looks another way, and they keep it consistent.
And
it's not just for the one scene.
Yeah, and there's no addressing of that either. Like, there's nobody who sees her do it and points it out for the audience. There's no like hand holding. It's all like you watch it and you get what you see. And if you don't look deep enough, you won't notice.
I would agree with that. There's a lot of
bobs going on, like, because so much goes on. One thing I love is the choreography of the fights.
Yeah.
Because they look so good.
It looks like when people stand on swords and stuff. Oh, it's so cool.
Everyone they've done, Kids on the Slope, there's one fight scene between
and it looks really good.
And it's so cool.
Yeah.
And Cowboy Bebop too, you know? It all looks great. So.
It is. I really feel like the studio really pays attention to detail.
Yeah.
In the way that Ghibli does, you know? And a lot of companies don't, you know? Like
Naruto. Because the fights...
Well, I feel like Naruto now is putting a lot more effort into it, but like Naruto fillers.
Yeah.
You know, where they're animated by different people?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's sometimes like there are points where it cuts back to the old Naruto, and it's like a flashback, and it looks worse than it did in the original clip. It's like they just rubbed detail out.
There's them fight scenes though in Naruto that I really don't understand. Like I remember watching Naruto, is a great place to start with anime, but there's that fight scene between Naruto and Sasuke, right? The first big fight, right?
There's a lot of ones.
When they on the roof, when they fight in the valley.
Oh, okay, so the end of the original Naruto series.
That fight, right, was one of the best things I'd seen in an anime.
Yeah.
Right, watching it, I was on edge.
Yeah.
But also in that fight, if you pause it, you can get these ridiculous face screens, right? But they do that, right? Because they only have so many frames to work with, and they play them fast, so it looks like they're just moving really quick. But if you pause it, they're all bent and disfigured.
Yeah.
But there's none of that in Samurai Champloo.
Yeah, and anything else the studio does.
Every frame is done.
Yeah, and they pay attention to details. And speaking of paying attention to detail, the music is spot on. And not just the music, but the placement of the music. Like, everywhere it comes in, you're like, this is the exact appropriate moment for the music to come in.
It's like you made that point in the last episode about the song that comes on when that woman dies in Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop, yeah.
But that for Samurai Champloo is like all the way through.
Yeah.
Because you don't notice it; it's so well implemented. Like
it's like dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like dialogue. It's like this song is communicating a message, and it's just like, instead of us holding a hand and being like this guy off shot saying something like, oh look, he's she's got the bombs in her breast, but it's like the music will tell you stuff. It's the characters would. Yeah. Okay, so I think we've discussed pretty much everything we wanted to discuss now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe so. We talked about the music.
Yeah.
The plot.
We did.
And everything else.
Yeah, so I think overall the anime was really interesting, and I really think that it took some turns and steps that a lot of animes are either too afraid to do or don't think are going to be interesting.
As I said, it's definitely its own thing. And you need to watch it in bulk and just get through it and then sort out how you feel about it.
Yeah,
it's hard to
I think this is probably one of my favorite anime studios.
Yeah.
The 3 animes they've done, Cowboy Bebop, Kids on a Slope, and Samurai Champloo, all 3 of them have been really interesting and different takes on subjects that are talked about a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to Kids on a Slope probably one day.
We'll do that one. That's what we want to do.
So before we get to our final scores and what we thought of the anime overall, I wanna talk about the episode in general. We've had some comments on the previous episodes, and we've taken them into account. We're going to be changing the format slightly over time. Probably the next episode will be a different format, and we'll keep changing. If you have any more suggestions on what you think the format should change to, please comment below. We listen to all the comments. We'll respond to you as well. We like talking to people in the comments. We did a lot for episode 1, and we'll do it for episode 2 as well. Do you agree?
No. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so here we go, right? Jack, what were your final thoughts? Because I kind of touched on it.
Alright, well, overall, right, Samurai Champloo, I forgot the name. Samurai Champloo is one of the best animes, if not the best anime I've seen. I loved watching it. It was an absolute joy to watch. Every time I wanted to go back to it, I was so excited to sit down and chill out with my cold beverage and watch it, you know. But no, it was really, really good. And I'm gonna have to give it top mark. 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for me. I want to come back to it.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
I was gonna give it a 3.
No, that's cool, man.
I want to come back to this with you because whatever score you give now, I want to see how it changes.
That's fair enough. That's completely fair enough. You've seen the entire anime. I've not. I really enjoyed the anime. I think visually and with regards to the score and the visuals, I think it was top marks. Completely knocked it out of the park. Did things that not a lot of animes do. Like 99% of animes don't even think about the soundtrack a lot of the times.
No.
They have the really good theme that they play a lot.
Yeah.
And they keep playing it. And playing it.
Dead
Thinking
horse.
of like Marada's theme from Naruto. Like, every time you see him, it's the same fucking da 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 da. This anime, it really puts thought into it. Each episode, you feel like you're getting a whole new experience song-wise.
It's so like funky, but it also has all these like raw emotions coming across.
Yeah.
And you really get like to feel about the characters, and then you're always with the main characters. So it's like you're always with these certain people, and you're like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna get up to and who they're gonna meet.
Yeah, and I think the visuals and the visuals are just up to standard. They're really good, really detailed. I didn't like some of the characters, some things with the characters, and I think that some of the tone of the show was confusing to me, but I do feel like over time that'll fix itself out when I see the entire thing. So taking all into account, my first impressions of the anime, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I'm gonna give 7 out of 10. Just one mark lower than Cowboy Bebop.
Hello.
There were some of the things I didn't quite like, but overall the experience, I came out of it wanting to finish the series. You know, if I had more time, I would have finished the entire series.
Once you watch it all, then
I think it was really enjoyable. So we got a 7 out of 10, a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
So if you want to know,
be so surprised.
if you make an anime and we review it, and you want to know on the scale of how much Jack thinks it's good, 10 is Samurai Champloo.
So watch Samurai Champloo, and that is the
It is the pinnacle.
that is the perfect anime I have watched. Like I have no hang on, let me think.
Do you have any problems?
I did once, but it's so good I forgot.
You forgot your way into a 10.
I have to watch it again because there was one problem, or there might have been two really little things.
Is it the
I had
squirrel?
a problem with. No.
Let's not talk about the squirrel.
I just breeze that into the carpet. Doesn't have much purpose, but whatever. But there were two things, and I'm sure there were, but we'll have to talk about it later when we get back to it. But right now I've forgotten them, and it's so good.
Okay, so post your thoughts, if you haven't already, post your thoughts of this anime in the comments. But more so, what we want you to do is post your reviews of the next anime that we're watching next month, which, Jack, is Sword Art Online Season 1. We're watching Sword Art Online.
I never watched it.
You've never watched it. I've watched it. It is a very interesting anime.
Yeah.
And it is very modern. It came out like 2 years ago.
I know the concept roughly.
Okay.
So, it seems
so
okay.
those
I'll
of you
check
who've
it out.
seen it, comment below. We're going to be watching the first 4 episodes, just like we did with this show. And more if you want, but we're going to be talking about the first 4 specifically. You can leave ratings, you can leave small reviews, you can do video reviews. You can get those to us with submissions at manofirefilms.com. That's our email address, and just put in the subject line Anime Duo. Or you could tweet it at us. All the links will be in the description. You can put it on Facebook, or you can comment it below. Just get those to us, because we want to know what you think of Sword Art Online, and we'll tell you what we think of it.
We will.
Yes.
Next
we
month.
will. Next month. And we hope you enjoy. I've been Karen Morris.
And I've been Jack Thomas.
That didn't work. How many episodes are you watching? You haven't said.
I said 4.
You said it's season 1.
I said 4 episodes. Didn't I say 4
You
episodes?
said first season.
We're going to be watching 4 episodes.
There's only 4 episodes in the first season.
No.
I don't think you said 4 episodes. I really don't.
Do you want to bet money on
I don't, but just say it again to be safe.
that? Okay, I'll say it again to be safe, but I know I did.
Well, I didn't hear you, and I was listening to it for the entire time.
So yeah, that's 4 episodes. We're watching 4...
That's not going to work. You were saying we want to hear what you think. Come in with a just to clarify thing or something.
Okay.
It's not fair.
So just to clarify, just 4 episodes we're going to be talking about. You can watch the entire anime if you want. We're just going to be watching the first 4 episodes and talking about them. Are you excited? Alright, I'm excited. Fuck you. Oh, shit.
You saw sadness about the swearing.
I'm excited. I don't know about you. Right, so there you go. Please get your reviews to us in the comments down below. Links in the description.
Dude, Sorry to interrupt. Go on, finish up. Oh,
I was just going to say, see you next time.
Alright, well, see you next time. And, right, I won't be excited because I've already watched The Perfect Anime.
If you agree with him, please
Everyone's
comment
gonna be like,
below.
"Oh, anime is stupid. I hated that anime." Nobody's gonna agree.
enjoy it.
No, I'm sure most people did.
Hopefully.
I hope so. I'll come
See you
get
guys
it.
next time.
See you guys.